Whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 15, 1929, and
Whereas in February of 1948, Dr. King was ordained in the Christian ministry at the age of 19 at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, and became assistant pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church. And whereas Dr. King, who attended segregated public schools in Georgia before earning a Bachelor of Arts degree from Morehouse College, a Bachelor of Divinity degree from Closer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, and a Doctorate of Philosophy degree in theology from Boston University, rose to prominence as a civil rights activist committed to peace, justice, and equality. And
Whereas the work of Dr. King created a basis of understanding and respect and helped communities and the United States as a whole to act cooperatively and courageously to restore tolerance, justice, and equality between people. And
whereas Dr. King dedicated his life to securing the fundamental principles of United States of liberty and justice for all United States citizens, and
Whereas Dr. King was the leading civil rights advocate of his time, spearheading the civil rights movement in the United States during the 1950s and 1960s, and earning worldwide recognition as an eloquent and articulate spokesperson for equality. And
Whereas, through his work and reliance on nonviolent protest, Dr. King was instrumental in the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And
whereas Dr. King led the Montgomery, Alabama bus boycott for 381 days to protest the arrest of Rosa Parks and the segregation of the bus system of Montgomery. And on the December 21st, 1956, the Supreme Court declared laws requiring segregation on buses unconstitutional. And between 1957 and 1968, Dr. King traveled more than 6 million miles, spoke more than 2,500 times, and wrote 5 books and numerous articles supporting efforts around the country to end injustice and bring about social change and desegregation. And
whereas on August 28, 1963, Dr. King led the March on Washington, D.C., the largest rally of the civil rights movement, during which, from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and before a crowd of more than 200,000 people, Dr. King delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech, one of the classic orations in the American history. And
Dr. King was a champion of nonviolence, fervently advocated nonviolent resistance as a strategy to end segregation and racial discrimination in America, and in 1964, at age 35, became the youngest man to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition for his efforts. And
whereas on the evening of April 4th, 1968, Dr. King was assassinated while standing on the balcony of his motel room in Memphis, Tennessee, where he was to lead sanitation workers in protest against low wages and intolerable working conditions. And
whereas, in 1968, Representative John Conyers introduced legislation to establish the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. as a federal holiday. And
whereas in 1983, Congress passed and President Ronald Reagan signed legislation creating the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, which is now observed in more than 100 countries.
now therefore be it resolved that Milpitas Unified School District hereby proclaims January 15th, 2024 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and encourages all educators to commemorate this day of remembrance with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs.
Passed and adopted by the Milpitas Unified School District Board of Education at a meeting held on January 9, 2024 by the following vote.
Hi, I'm Kevin Slavin, principal at Kirtner, and on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the Kirtner community embraces the spirit of community and service that Dr. King exemplified throughout his life. Just one of the activities we do is host a day of service, inviting students and families to engage in various projects that benefit our local community. This year, we're going to be creating hygiene kits for Hope for Unhoused. having a book drive for the Milpitas Library, a coat drive for City Team, and also building our brand new soccer goals for our Kirtner students. Through these activities, our students learn the importance of giving back and making a positive impact, reflecting the core principles that Dr. King championed. Thank you.